Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Monty Sylvan, and I am the coordinator for the membership department here at AdvaMed. Today, we have a wonderful webinar line for you today in partnership with EPAM, entitled The AI-Enabled Supply Chain. Today, we have our speakers, Joe Vernon, Principal of Supply Chain Consulting at EPAM, as well as Aaron Adderman, Senior Manager of Supply Chain Consulting at EPAM. First and foremost, what is meant by end-to-end visibility? Aaron, if we can get your point of view on that.
Yeah, thank you. So when we're talking end-to-end visibility, we're really talking about seeing the flow of materials through the supply chain, from where it's produced to where it's stored to where it's being used, and ultimately the end person who goes home and has that material. We're talking about seeing things from possibly pulling out of the earth all the way through processing and using as source materials, or starting from when you receive the material and seeing it all the way through. It's being able to have that with the connectivity and understanding all the supply chain processes that go with it. And it sits upon robust data platforms and analytical capabilities that are required to build that connectivity. It has sensing capabilities. It has tied and instant KPIs so that you can see the performance of things that are moving through. And it enables you to see that holistic picture of everything that's happening along the continuum of the supply chain. And so one point that's worth noting is being a big bang way to go about it is not required. Choosing a place to start, choosing a place that makes sense within your organization to have that as a starting point and then continue growing out the capabilities to eventually get to the end-to-end piece is really a worthwhile way to start and way to get towards it, while making sure that you're avoiding decisions that possibly lead to issues in the future with technical debt and other challenges. But that end-to-end capability to see things move through is what we're really talking about.
Yeah. Good points, Aaron. And there's a lot of information in what you just said. There's some things to highlight about that when you talk about end-to-end visibility. And so there's just been more and more demand for supply chains in general to be more granular. So I need to see many more points of data along my supply chain continuum, all the way even from raw materials that go into products to their end of life and recycling. So the demand keeps increasing for that. So how do you match up with those requirements? Much less all the visibility you need into your execution systems, like your warehouse management, order management, transportation management. So the landscape is data hungry and more granularity as you go through the supply chain. And the supply chains are starting to be collaborative. So vendors are talking to vendors, to customers, to patients, to end consumers. And so you have mobile devices and execution systems and social media and all these things that need to talk together. So you need a collaborative environment as well to make this visibility possible. You'll see a lot written about it, but basically visibility means I understand my supply chain in a snapshot, where things are and how much of it I have. It's still the old basic. Where are my products? Where are the things I care about, and how much do I have of it?
Absolutely. And as a follow-up question, how does that help me better manage and maintain inventory and the overall supply chain? Joe?
Yeah, so we just touched on it. So here's this fundamental question. Every time you ask a chief supply chain officer in the top 5 is, where's my inventory? How much do I have of it? Inventory is what we take care of in supply chains. We're either storing it, managing it, buying it, making it, shipping it. And so I need to really understand its condition. How is it doing? Is it actually going to show up on time? And those are all the fundamental questions that supply chains ask. Where is my stuff? How much do I have of it? What condition is it in? Can I get my hands on it? Did the customer get it? When they got it, did they keep it? Is it coming back to me? So end-to-end visibility attempts to answer all those questions for you so you can manage that inventory more carefully and really more precisely.
Yeah. And so when we think about the ability to have that and this capability, all right, great, I built it, but now what is it actually doing for me? I like to think of it as having 2 real benefits that are tangible. One being the customer delight and increasing customer experience, because you're able to tell them, I told you this would be here at this time. it's actually going to get there at that time in the quantity that they wanted. And so you can manage to say, hey, there's a delay somewhere, something happened along the way, it's going to happen now, and you're going to get at this expected future date, or this happened en route, we're sending another one because we lost track of where it is, but managing the customer expectation. The second one is once you have that good visibility, you're able to enable new business models. You're able to work in a different way to offer new things towards your customer or find competitive advantage opportunities. And so if today you have to take a 7-day window to say, I'm going to deliver something in the future because I actually really understand it, I can make the promise that it's going to be there in 2, maybe 3 days. If I have really good enough understanding and know exactly where stuff's positioned, I could even promise something in less than 24 hours. And so really having that opportunity to, because I know exactly where it is, because I know how things are moving through that network, being able to say, I can do these additional things, make new promises, partner with my customers and deliver things in a new way. That's really the tangible benefit that comes out of enabling this end-to-end visibility.
Yeah, so what you touched on there is, if you want to grow, open up new channels, have increases in revenue, you have to be able to confidently know you can push the product out to who's going to consume it. And that means knowing everything about your inventory and how you handle it. And then the second piece of that, as you're trying to be AI enabled and you're trying to be intelligent as an enterprise, then really knowing how you operate is key to that. So you can feed these models the correct information and they can come out with the right predictions or the right way for you to run your business, or for you to simulate what a new channel and a new revenue stream might be for you. And so you've got to inform it with the right data. So you got to know yourself accurately. Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect. Next question. What is the concept of a control tower and digital twin? Aaron, why don't we start off with you in this one?
Yeah. So these are two things that really are related and sit on a similar foundation, but the actual things that they're enabling and kind of doing differ a little bit. So I'll start with the control tower. The control tower is something that's going to help you visualize, report, and understand what's happening now. It's a execution visibility. It can look forward within your planning horizons and understand where there's gaps, where there's things that you need to be taking action on now in order to try and avoid future disruption. It's really something with a lot of definitions, a lot of flavors to them, and you could have them at the process, you could have them at the end to end. There's a lot of ways to slice and dice what control tower is. Common themes, no matter where you want to define it or how you want to slice it, is that they enable collaboration, the end-to-end visibility. They have real-time data and analytic capabilities that are foundational to them. They provide actionable insights. They give you the opportunity to take an action now as a result of what the control tower is giving you. Proactive risk management. They're able to identify something that is possibly going to occur in the future and give you an opportunity to avoid that thing happening. Performance monitoring to tell you what is happening right now, and agility, giving you that ability to respond to things. In comparison, the digital twin is a simulation of a real world thing. And so that can be a product, it can be a process, and it can be performance. As 3 ways to consider it. But it's taking a something, the supply chain includes that something. It could be a device, it could be a piece of equipment, it could be an end-to-end manufacturing flow, and enables with through sensors and various ways of seeing digitally that thing. It allows you to then put simulation to it and say, all right, if I'm going at this way of performance, if I look 30 minutes, if I look a week into the future, given the current performance, will I be meeting all of the expectations that I have? Giving that simulation capability and allowing to look into the future to say, if I made this change, what does that impact? It allows you to run something to get a really good understanding of how it will actually perform in real life. And that similar data and underpinnings of what the control tower sits upon, having that available to draw the simulations that the digital twin enables is what makes that really powerful.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot, right? So when you take a control tower, which really says, I want to see myself as an organization, as a supply chain, as a device company, as a pharmaceutical company, whatever you're doing in life science, I want to see everything about me. And I want you to bring to my attention what's happening and those things that need my attention that might be adverse or might be opportunistic. And then if I want to do something about that, do I have a tool that can help me with that, like a simulation tool that says, look, if I see these things happening and I want to make this mitigating action, can I score that mitigating action virtually somehow and not take the risk of doing it with not knowing the outcome with a little more confidence? So the digital twin and the control tower working together, sort of alerting and watching and then simulating. And you can put a little Gen AI in the middle of there to help you contextualize what you're looking at. It becomes what we think will really be standard capability for supply chains going in the future. And when we talk about this, we know we have execution systems like warehouse management, transportation management, demand planning down there. All that data that gets generated for them, plus outside data on weather, adverse events, different things like that. The control tower is the gateway for that, in essence. And then the digital twin can be a place where you do that advanced modeling. So whether it's machine learning for prediction, any kind of advanced modeling without getting too deep on it, you can do it inside the digital twin, simulate the result, and then see how you want to act on it. Most companies now are, when they get into this, they're still keeping a human in the loop. So the recommendation comes back, somebody sees it, and then they can act upon it by agreeing or disagreeing with it. You'll see more and more that these control tower digital twin combos will start to work a little more automatically, like see a scenario, react to it, simulate it, give it a score, and then go ahead and create some kind of an action that the system initiates and completes on its own. That's the go forward position of all this and what it lays the foundation for.
So Joe, you touched on a point we've mentioned a couple of times, but we haven't gotten real deep on it with the data requirements. And you mentioned Gen AI. So I think it's also worth noting here that while these are data hungry, there are things now, especially synthetic data, where we can help to fill in gaps. And the world is able to create data sets based on understanding of real data, able to feed these things to draw simulations to make realistic understanding possible. And so that we can really enable these tools where we might only have a small amount of data. We may not have all the historical data we want to do things and make decisions on. We're going to try to fill those gaps using things that are recently available to the world in terms of synthetic data and JAI and the ability to fill those gaps in quality and or not having to be exactly as good as data may have had to be previously because some of these capabilities.
Yeah. So you say, well, I want to do this new capability to provide this new service, but I've never done it before, so I don't have the history. So how do I simulate it in a digital twin? Well, that's where Aaron brought up about synthetic data. You can create a data set. We're seeing actually uptake in this on clinical trials, where for control groups, let's say you have a rare disease that only impacts 30 people a year, as an example. You'd like 1 million data points about that as a control group. They can create that using synthetic data so that the model can run at least against something that is very close to real and give you a better predictive value about an outcome from a protocol or a treatment. This is the same in supply chain scenarios. If we don't have enough of a record about it, we can create that history artificially. It's proven to be very accurate. I'm glad you brought that up there because it can be a little daunting, right? So whatever you can envision, we can kind of create virtually so you can see how it might work.
Fantastic. Thank you for your responses. Next question. Discuss the art of the possible with regards to personalized medicine and white glove service for medtech.
Did we have a poll question that we wanted to ask the group? Yeah, let's ask
let's get into that.
Let's ask the audience some of their feedback here.
All right. We can get everyone's participation. Greatly appreciate it.
Yeah. So what do you see as the most critical part of your supply chain that's just got to work better is more like the question, so you can do what you want to do and also go forward into the future. Aaron, what's your take on those results?
Yeah, I'm not surprised that fulfillment and delivery and planning and forecasting that really makes sense. Maybe last mile is becoming part of the delivery conversation. with some of the things going on. But I think that this makes perfect sense. And everything we're hearing from clients and everything that we're talking about and advising on, it's also with fulfillment and delivery, great place and space to start this end-to-end journey that you would go down with trying to get everywhere. And so, that is a highly recommended and frequently recommended starting point when we talk to people about taking these journeys.
Yeah, demand planning is more of a quantifiable you're trying to quantify numbers and come up with the right thing. But then back on the distribution side, where 67% of the people think is most critical, it's easier to do a pilot, right? That includes analytics, but also tangible movement of product, and you can see whether or not your idea is working. So if that's almost kind of the split between the work we see, isn't it? Where 2/3 of it is typically on the distribution side, and we'll try something. That also we do some kind of a mathematical or optimization exercise on demand planning.
Yeah, also really cool opportunities for that ability to see things when we talk about GPS sensors and some of the things that are available now in cost-effective ways, things that have been around for a while, but not necessarily cost-effective at the time, but actually seeing a real-time update of where is something in the world at any one given point, and, figure out what level of consolidation you need, but also cool things that allow you to understand that something was opened for consignment or high value things, to know not only did it reach its destination, but someone actually opened the box, and trader activities that would require. So it's really an interesting space, and the ability to do things now that we've been talking about for a long time.
Yeah, I like that you brought that up, because one of the things that is helping demand planning be better is to actually know the velocity of a product. How fast is it moving through the supply chain? So you may be fulfilling orders and doing things, but you really can't see its sort of instantaneous velocity, and its demand, what we call near-term demand sensing, and get some of that feedback back into your forecasting model to give you a better idea of actually how your supply chain is flowing.
Yeah. And, again, enables an additional opportunities. If you can see it, if you can know what's happening, maybe you can do something vendor managed and, one, take the lift off of your customers and your clients, but also it gives you better control of the outflows of your product. So it enables a new way of partnering, becoming a deeper, better ingrained, reliable partner as opposed to just a supplier. So there's cool opportunities that it allows you to take.
Right. And as we talked about earlier, this collaboration aspect of supply chain is only increasing. So having, like you said, having data that helps you partner better is a big enabler of that collaboration, obviously. So you can get the agreements right and understand what you can provide and what you need from them more closely.
Absolutely.
All right. We've been talking about machine learning and predictive analytics as really becoming the equivalent of Excel spreadsheets, the way we thought of Excel in the past, but now machine learning, and we just become an everyday thing that we have as part of our toolkit for doing our analysis or understanding ourselves. So I'm very encouraged by that response, and the data backs that up. It's really becoming prolific. It's finding itself inside of a lot of your SaaS software packages that you run. They're going to be doing some kind of machine learning. People that are building visualizations in Tableau or Power BI are also trying to leverage predictive analytics and machine learning. Individualized little apps people might build to do certain things off-the-shelf software doesn't do. You'll often find machine learning there as well. So quite encouraged by that one. And then also, I think, Aaron, you could see in there that Gen AI is getting a footprint. People are understanding what it can do and wanting to adopt it.
Yeah. Wasn't very surprised to see the ERP, WMS, TMS. I think the world's been using that one for a while. But if that's still an opportunity in a place where it's not yet very effective, getting those in place is a great starting point for any of these end-to-end pieces, because that's going to provide the data and provide the connectivity needed to create the visualization. So as a foundational capability, that's absolutely a good place to start, and then leverage these advanced technologies that we're talking about.
Yeah, so we tend to categorize that as the execution layer, letting WMS, TMS, ERP do what they do. and then you put an intelligent layer over the top of it to take care of the things that need more complicated analytics and modeling, and then tools like Control Tower and Digital Twin fall into that over the top intelligent layer conversation.
Yeah. On that, it may be worth noting, we've seen a lot of the point solutions that are managing one process, the planning tools, the WMS, TMS, that are also including a control tower. And so when we're talking with the end-to-end visibility and control tower, we're talking across all of those tools. And so when we're asked about a recommendation, I've got this has a control tower, this has a control tower, this has a control tower. Usually the planning tool is the more robust of them because it actually looks across the processes. But a lot of our clients and the people we're talking to are seeing that oftentimes is not getting a level of visibility that they actually want. So creating this intelligence layer that Joe's mentioning on top and across all of those solutions, using that as the data that feeds up into the common platform and then the visibility above it is very, very often the path forward for many of our clients. And so that's a regular conversation that we're having. People have been looking at it and trying to understand what they can use of, the tools they're already implementing. And for getting started, it's absolutely meeting the need for getting at the advanced capabilities that many of our clients want to achieve. It's not yet meeting the need. And so that's where we really start having these more interesting conversations of what can we do at the end-to-end level.
Yeah, and they definitely don't want to hear they have to make a big change on their ERP or their WMS. And this doesn't involve that. This is that layer over the top, like Aaron said. So it's a safe way to go forward from a technical disruption perspective. All right, well, let's get into the art of the possible.
Discuss the art of the possible with regards to personalized medicine and white glove service for medtech. Aaron, can you take this one?
Yeah. So anytime we're talking about the population of one with personalized medicine, with developing medical devices or building something based on biometrics or building something based on one person's ability to receive that thing, the ability to really see where it is, to know that this right patient is getting this thing that was produced exactly for him or her is vitally important, right? We've been talking about that for a little bit. But now when we start talking about having the possibility to do some of these things at home, do it in maybe a non-traditional care setting of not the doctor's office, not the hospital, and being able to have devices or things that are set up for use by the person, being able to hold their hand. When we talk about the white glove service, being able to deliver it, set it up, teach someone how to use it, ensure they're using it the right way in home or wherever it is that they happen to be, becomes what we're talking about. And so that high touch, that level of understanding and support that the customer or the patient is getting is what we're referring to when we talk about the white glove. And it really enables, requires the specific abilities and having high accuracy, being highly proficient with the people who are going into the home, ensuring that they have the support and the training materials and the ability to pull up videos, the ability to troubleshoot on the spot, and a lot of things that these advanced capabilities enable with self-service, with having everyone who goes into the house having the right amount of information about the patient, about where things are, if the replacement parts are needed, and how long is it going to take to get something to fix what they're working on. And so having all of that understanding, that is end-to-end visibility, knowing where inventory is and everything else, really enables that white glove service, that high touch, and making sure that the right person gets the right thing that they're supposed to have for their treatments.
Yeah. And so technical enablement is key here. Right? So we're not just dropping off boxes on the porch. What's in the box is a precise medical either device or treatment that one individual needs. So you got to match that treatment to that person. So there's all kinds of remote devices now here we can start to leverage or think about leveraging. People wear fitness trackers. So they give off signals about how their heart rate is doing and what their condition is. Biomedical sensors on people, patches. There's at-home genetic testing kits. There's computer vision goggles and smart glasses. So let's say you're coming in with a treatment for somebody. You got to make sure it's the right person. You might do a retinal scan to get a 100% positive ID of that person. Feed that up to your control tower. You want to know the exact procedure with applying the treatment. So maybe through your glasses, you're observing the proper procedure, and on the cloud, a digital twin is watching it and making sure you're going through the steps properly. These are the kind of things that are available now to sort of give you that remote presence with the right amount of validation and the right amount of checking to make sure you got the right person, the right treatment, and doing it the right way. And even reminding people of how to do a treatment. So they might have forgotten. So they need some way to show how to give themselves a shot or to administer some kind of a treatment right there at the point of consumption. So there's exciting technologies out there. There's more ease around people having devices on them to monitor them. And this can even include after you give a treatment or do something with the patient at home, you're watching the reaction to it. So there's a lot of things here about medical liability that's also kick in, which is a whole nother thing. But from us as supply chain people, we want a successful delivery to the right person, the right thing. And also that with white glove means they get it set up or they use it or it's administered to them in the proper way. So you close the loop. So I made a comment, white glove is becoming more like latex glove. Like there's a medical procedure that happens at a home now, and it's facilitated by sensors and monitors to make sure it's done correctly.
Yeah. The other piece of if we're doing this and monitoring and able to be closer to the person doing the administration is knowing that they took the dose. But then it also possibly helps with replenishment and sending and knowing that they're ready to receive the next dose or the next shipment of whatever the medication is, if that's medication or, if there's expendable pieces that are part of using whatever the device is. But it allows to proactively continue providing the things needed to do the treatment. And lets companies know that the inventory will move and increase sales because you know that it's actually being consumed and the ongoing treatment continues to happen, and you're not going to have the patient fall off and just no longer be using it.
Yeah. There's even medications that have nanoparticles into them. The patient wears a patch, and when those nanoparticles are in the bloodstream, it confirms they've taken their medicine. So there's lots of good new technologies out there.
Wonderful. Thank you for your responses. What supply chain use cases are showing signs of success? Aaron, I'll let you start off with this one.
Yeah. So I'm going to touch again on the control tower. We've mentioned it. We've been talking about the control tower as, supply chain folks for like 10, 15 years or so now. And it's only recently, within the last few, since a lot of the cloud computing and the proliferation of people moving to the cloud became a thing, that what we've been promising for a long time is really possible. And we're seeing clients really well implement this and leverage the capability. I'll give two quick examples. One is a customer who's supporting fast food companies and sending all of the materials needed to create all of the burgers and sandwiches and different things that the restaurant's serving. And they're seeing where the inventory is at the store level, with being able to then trigger replenishment and maintain things that are on the shelf and maintain the ability for those restaurants to serve, pulling in outside data and risk things to see where there's weather patterns, where something's happening to divert shipments and make sure that things aren't spoiling, that might not be able to get to a location due to a weather disruption or some other thing that's happening. But using that control tower very, very effectively to maintain on-the-shelf availability, to make sure that when customers walk in the door, they can get what they're looking for, and to make sure that they're not seeing things within the supply chain going wrong because it just can't get into a location, and being able to divert those perishable goods to another place that actually can consume them and use them, as well as then having replenishment strategies when that event is over so they can get stuff back to the stores that were previously affected. The second one is working with a global life science firm and on their planning side, really visualizing their S&OP process, having a common global view of the S&OP process using common tools, pulling up a dashboard as part of the meeting, as opposed to everyone having their own Excel spreadsheet, but also having the flexibility where individual countries need specific metrics reported, having that customization level at the country level and the overall global view that they're sharing and having a conversation about at the chief executive levels. So really being able to leverage that common data, common reporting, common set of KPIs to manage and make all the decisions they need to at the highest levels, while being able to keep things local that are required to, so that everyone is really making the best decisions, leveraging the control towers that are available on different processes.
Nice. Yeah, and I have a couple examples as well. We had a strong response on distribution and fulfillment, so I'll contextualize it around that. So control towers obviously gather data from a lot of different systems, little points, but then the machine learning predictive models come in. And one of the big wins it's had for multiple companies is, what's my new adjusted expected delivery date? When will this product actually arrive at my customer's distribution center or at my point of consumption at the home? So machine learning predictive analytics is now a big part of supply chain control towers. Since a control tower can take in more than just the order and the inventory information, like Aaron has said, it can take in weather, adverse events. It can get updates from carriers about whether or not a truck is still on the road, or if it's broken down on the side of the road. It can then interpret all that data to give you a new prediction on, let's say, expected delivery date. Other ones are on replenishment. So we have replenishment rules about when we should send more product based on some threshold. But with machine learning doing prediction in real time about how things are really working now, that model can learn in real time, and it can alter those replenishment levels to better match your reality, so you don't overstock or understock in your fulfillment process. So we call those micro allocations or micro replenishments. What will drive this to the next level is, now we're using machine learning, is taking it up and using a thing called intelligent agents, which are also a little smarter than machine learning and can reason a little bit about what's happening, like in this micro replenishment model I mentioned, and actually make decisions for you. So that all foundationally comes from the control tower. So we're seeing a lot of fluidity and accuracy added to the supply chain that Aaron mentioned, and then other cases about being able to know better about when product will actually arrive, and how much you should replenish, and allocate, and not overbuying or having unwanted assets sitting around. So some real good case studies there on control tower. There's many more. So if you want to do this, if you want to get going on this, or you have a semblance of this, but you'd like to take it forward, there's some key success factors and risks Aaron and I will talk about. Success factors: a strong unified data foundation. Some companies have 2 or 3 cloud platforms. You need one source of truth, one data foundation with a cloud-enabled platform, so you can have the collaboration and connectivity, and everybody internally and externally gets the same data source. There's no confusion. You need a built-out analytical environment, so a machine learning workbench and the tools to do your own modeling, or to have a service provider do the modeling for you. And really, you need a clear cultural sort of understanding and priority around saying you're going to be a data-driven company. And what does that mean? It means you're going to experiment and you're going to innovate. So when you bring something up, bring it up at a small scale with a small set of use cases so you really understand it. Then scale it. Those are some of the key success factors: data, cloud-enabled, strategy, and being a data-driven organization with the right culture for innovation and experimentation. And there's also some risks. Anything to add to that, Aaron?
Yeah, just one point on that organizational piece. It's really important to get a very senior leader to be the champion, to have meetings and make decisions using the tool, and not using, everyone has something different on their computer and you're arguing about it. But having someone who can really force the using of the tool and the adoption is going to become a critical adoption piece for the organization to get behind it and really start leveraging it and using it, and then really understand the benefits and realize it.
Yeah. And Aaron speaks from experience. He works with some very large pharma companies, and he sees them spend the same money over and over because they don't have that one sponsor who gets them all unified around one approach and one platform, et cetera. So good advice around risks.
As we wrap up, where is this all headed, and how do we get started? Aaron, you go first.
Yeah. So I'll give 4 steps for getting started. They're not the easiest. There's a little bit of effort in them, but it's really, I think we can wrap it up into kind of 4 places to start. One is understanding where there's challenge in the supply chain. Where are the places in your supply chain that you want to put the focus and try to address something using this? 2 is really prioritizing the business outcomes that you want to get from this to keep them in mind to make sure you actually get towards the target. Is it improving OTIF? Is it reducing cost? Is it improving service level? Whatever it is, having that in mind and ensuring that we design something to enable and achieve that. 3 is assessing your organization. So understanding, do I have the processes in place? Do I have manual interventions required that prevent me from actually seeing something end to end? My KPIs aligned. Do my people have the ability to work with technology-aided decision making? And can they do things at the pace that technology providing this information is going to require? Or do I have to bring in some training and some stuff? The last consideration of assessing your organization is, do I have the skill set internally to do it? Or do I need to find some outside help to put this piece together and help us get using it right and then take it ourselves moving forward from there? And the last one is to develop the roadmap and gradually build out the capabilities. We mentioned earlier that it doesn't have to start end to end, and the roadmap enables that, picking the right place to start, getting that capability there, and really prioritizing up front the early wins that become evangelicals for the success that this has, that it made something better and they can tell their friends and everyone else about it, who now get excited to take on their part of becoming part of this. And as we build out the capability and grows end to end, we're using it, right? But having something where the data is available, the people are ready to use it, some place to start that will be successful, not necessarily the most impactful, but successful, and then build on that success as we get more impactful moving forward.
Yeah, great advice, because people learn by doing. This is also theoretical, in the way we talk about it, but putting in a small POC, a proof of concept that's easy to understand, really teaches people how to use the tools, and then you go from there. Where are we headed? I'll be a little more futuristic. One fundamental I'd like to leave with you is, when you're building visibility, remember your partners in the supply chain. They're going to be part of a collaborative supply chain with you. So API gateways and the ability to openly collaborate is a big deal. It's not going away. It's only going to expand. The other thing is the speed of decision making. As you build out these control towers and these environments, things like agentic AI, quantum computing, intelligent agents that you'll read about, digital twin simulations, this is going to take the speed of decision making to a place it's never been before. So by saying that, I'm saying things will happen so fast that we as people won't be able to keep up with it. So the machines will be outpacing the humans. That's happening already out there, and we can give on another call. We can share examples of it. But machines are making fast decisions about things. So your data, it's got to be right. You're collaborating across partners, gives you connectivity to everything that's happening in the ecosystem, so you can make that good informed decision. And you're going to be automating a percentage of these decisions as you go forward. And that's really what the future is looking like. And some companies have already started that journey.
Yeah. One point on that data availability part. So 1 internally and 2 on the collaborative part, removing any places where humans have to pull data and upload something, or they are required to make the data available, is going to limit your ability to see something real time. If I have to wait for someone to do a task, that adds lag and makes my picture of what we're looking at less real time. Same with data refreshes with our partners. If I'm refreshing once a week, then I may be making a decision on 6-day-old data, even if it's once a day, depending on how critical that piece is to knowing what I need to make a decision. That lag may really make this not as effective a decision, or if I need to be making real-time decisions based on it. So that level of partnership and removing the manual intervention internally becomes pretty critical, depending just how fast you want to be able to see things moving.
Absolutely. And to paraphrase that, companies still run themselves on spreadsheets, downloads. So you try to move away from that. I do see, Monty, I do see we have a question.
Yes, we do have a couple of questions from our audience. The first is, can we use a control tower for customers in commodities trading, moving commodities across the world?
Yes.
Yes. So think of control towers. Companies are building control towers across the functional domains. So they'll go from procurement to planning to manufacturing to distribution and fulfillment. And so anywhere where you have data that needs to be collected from data points that can inform a model, and that model can produce a result that you want to show to people in terms of an alert or a recommendation, you have the fundamentals of a control tower. So commodity trading and moving those commodities is a great example of a control tower solution set. Absolutely.
Fantastic. And then our next question, you touched on it a bit earlier. If you are curious what it takes to have end-to-end visibility, what does it take?
Sure, Aaron, I'll give you the first shot at that one.
Yeah. So the things that we talked about earlier really become that foundational capability. So having a robust data platform, all of the information that you're trying to visualize needs to be able to hit it, and not trying to pull from too many disparate places where you might run into things stepping on each other. Creating that one place, having a data and analytic capability that it goes with, and then visualizing it above it is really important. Understanding the capabilities of your people to work with it. Can't stress enough that there is a human component required to use everything that we build on the technology side. And then really understanding the end-to-end benefit you're trying to get out of it, making sure that we design something with an end state and a business objective in mind that allows us to really realize the benefit of the whole journey that we'd undertake, and make sure that we keep it in mind and design something to deliver on that benefit.
Yeah, that persona, that user journey. Don't forget that's the customer. You want them to use the tool, right?
Absolutely. Seems we don't have any further questions from our audience.
So Aaron and I can both comment on this together. This space is extremely active. So you have companies thinking, deliberating about this control tower, end-to-end visibility capability, and they're coming back to the market looking for these solutions quite aggressively. And we're in active projects and also in active discussions with customers about how to do this. It's across domains. Life science is very heavy in this area because, again, about personalized medicine, genomic medicine, med devices becoming something that's going to be delivered to the home or to a non-traditional medical setting. There's a lot of care and feeding for something like genomic or cellular medicine that needs to bring up the supply chain accuracy. So it's a very active topic, very active space. A lot of providers jumping into that space. So how do you get started? What providers you go with? What technologies you buy or defer to buy later? And what's the sequencing of all that? There's a lot to this. And hopefully today we touched on some of the things that can help you make those decisions or give you an idea of how to go forward.
Yeah. The last thing I would add is getting started the right way, being deliberate in defining what does this mean for your company. Having one definition, there's many, many out there, but coming up with just what does this mean for your company, and then ensuring that we start thinking about and developing capabilities to meet that definition. Just because something worked for someone else doesn't mean it's the right one for you. So put the upfront effort in, be deliberate in defining what it is, ensure that you have the right sponsorship, and ensure that people understand that this is a bit of a journey, that it's not going to be in 6 months we have this end-to-end thing that's all built out. It's probably faster than anyone's able to move or is ready to adopt it. So be deliberate, take the time to define it the right way, design it the right way, and then make sure that you implement it in a way that makes sense so that your company adopts it to the fullest extent and get all the benefits out of it.
I appreciate, and I'm sure the crowd also appreciates your presentation, responses to. I think the few questions is indicative of great teaching and education. But if anyone has any questions or want to reach out and inquire any further with Aaron or Joe, their emails are in their display names currently. I'd absolutely encourage you to pick their brains even further on these topics. I want to thank you, Aaron and Joe, for your presentation today, and the audience for participating today and showing up.